Okay, chapter number 4. Let's get into a different thought process now. Again, with my teaching, it's all about different layers, okay, and thinking about multiple things. Another tool to help you confront white blank paper when composing is just simply incorporating the values, okay? I've got a value scale over here. You see what happens when I put this dark value scale over here? All of a sudden that paper goes nice and white. And then when I pull it away, it goes gray. That drives me bananas. Okay, so we've got our grayscale and value finder. And so we want to, first, before we get into all the gazillion shades of gray, we want to just break this image down now and refine the compositional shape. The grid helped us place our important things. We said, first thing, we lucked out with the placement. It's very rare that, I photograph something and I have the model and the background scene and everything exactly the way that I want it. 9 out of 10 times I'm combining like several different photographs into one illustration. So that's where that grid really comes in. So now let's incorporate a dark value. Let's just call it black or dark. A middle tone. We can call it middle tone, or we can call it value number 5. And let's incorporate a white or a light value number 10. Those 3 values. Now again, why? Because if you can incorporate the 3 values with the compositional shape, do you realize that you are doing something that 99.9% of a lot of artists refuse to do because they feel that it stifles their creativity? And again, I understand that argument. I understand that people just want to go and create the art while they got the momentum. I think my audience, I've got a pretty big audience. Some people are doing this just for fun. Some people want to be professional artists. Some people are professional artists and they're just trying to enhance their skills. Now, I've got to really try to stay in sync here with my values. And there's 2 different ways to do this, because now I'm starting to shade and I'm like, okay, wait a second, I got to do the 3 value thing. So my first value, and I did this in the cast drawing DVD for you. I'm not going to waste your time on this landscape DVD, composition through landscape DVD. You want to match that number 5. Okay, what's going to be black? You want to match that. Match that value, and our white paper is matched. Some people like to do a 2, a 5, and a 9 instead of a black, a middle tone, and a white. So I'm using like 3 different terms. I'm using values. I'm using value number 1, black. I'm saying dark. So I think you guys get the idea. I'll try to stay consistent with my terms. So let's first start off with the easiest value to correct, and that is putting down a middle tone. Because we can always turn this into a dark later on. But I'm going to tread lightly here first. And I'm going to say, in keeping with my compositional shape, because my compositional shape is dictating to me that most of my darks are going to be here anyway. And again, we are trying to do this. Now we're going to kind of zoom in or refine a tad more. We're not going to be so loosey-goosey, but it still is going to have a compositional, or what's the word that I was looking for? Impressionistic. It's still going to have an impressionistic feel. We're not going to go really sharp with this thing yet, which would be our final sketch if this was for an illustration job. So that's going to be my middle tone, and I'm going to put middle tone down for the grass. Okay, now again, this is tedious, and let's say you're going to spend, I don't know, 3 days on a drawing. Each day is going to be like 7 hours that you're spending on it, 21 hours. Wouldn't it behoove you to take less than an hour before you potentially waste 21 hours? And then on hour 19, you're like, oh boy, this stinks. I don't like this at all. Why did I make these decisions early on? And so what happens in that scenario is you do that and you get frustrated with yourself and you're like, oh God, I screwed up again. And why do I keep screwing up like this? Why am I not getting consistent results with my drawing. And I'm here to tell you, this is how you're going to eliminate that heartache. And this is how you're going to eliminate continually doing these drawings that you're not happy with. And it's almost like the type of situation where you do one and it's good, and then you do another and it's okay, and then you do two that stink, and one that's good, and three that stink. You want consistency. And this technique, albeit it takes away from the spontaneity, everything in life is a trade-off. You lose a little spontaneity for consistency. And if you want to be a professional artist, you want consistency so you can continually work for these clients and they hire you over and over and over again because you give them consistent results. And if you're a hobbyist and not going to do this professionally, you kind of want to be happy with the results. And so, again, this is about enjoyment and being consistent. So that's a whole nother reason for doing this. So now I've kind of got it mapped out. And so now I need to make some decisions about my blacks. So the first black that I want to really be consistent with, and again, this is not about rendering this out. I'm going for simple mosaic shapes. I'm going to say that's going to be a black, that's going to be a black. I'm just playing with placement here. I'm not going for anything other than placement. I'm going to say, and this is actually a pretty big sketch. If I have my ruler down here, and this is almost 6 inches, and if I was to do this thing smaller, I'd be done already. Okay, so I'm going to start plowing in the blacks. Again, this is like the construction paper theory, that you are cutting out pieces of construction paper. If you were to work smaller than what I'm doing right now, again, you'd be done. So don't get too hung up that, if I was doing this, I'd be wasting my time. Why do I have to do this? Again, the whole reason for doing this is to make your mistakes small and to make your mistakes before you go on to your final piece and spend hours upon hours and only to find out that it's not working for you in the end. So very impressionistic. And I'm going to play with manipulating values. This is where you could copy what you see, or you can manipulate the values. Two different schools of thought. I'm manipulating some values in this scene. I'm not copying everything. Okay, so now I'm going to, and the other thing that I really forgot to say in the beginning that is crucial is that I'm taking the average, the median, the mean. It's one of those words. I think it's the mean. Mean and average. If you go back to grade school, I wasn't really good at math, so you're taking the mean average values. Okay, we're not doing the gazillion shades of gray like I spoke of earlier. So I'm just plowing in my blacks. Let's see how we're doing with time here. We're getting pretty long with this video. I'm going to try to see if I can finish it. And so you start to see immediately, is this working? Let's go back now, and actually let me finish this off in another video so this is not too long.